On today's episode of Andy and Ari On3 presented by BetMGM, it is the 10 juiciest college football games of 2026. Will they be the 10 best? We don't know. Will they have the juiciest storylines? At least right now they do. We will break them down. Of course, Lane Kiffin returning to Oxford is on the list. Of course, the rematch between Arch Manning and Julian Sayin is on the list. Of course, we've got QBs who left one school and went to another in the conference and have to play against them on the list. We got it all. We'll talk about it today on Andy and Ari On3 presented by BetMGM. This show is presented by BetMGM, and there's no better place to be during March matchups than Las Vegas. This year, college basketball fans can win a VIP trip to the Court of Legends event featuring the Cavender twins. Simply place sports bets, and your position on the leaderboard will determine if you win one of the 25 grand prize packages. Just sign into your BetMGM account, opt into the promotion, and then start placing sports bets of at least $10 to climb the leaderboard. Make this March one to remember. Join the Court of Legends leaderboard and make it legendary. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, don't forget to use code CFB, that's CFB is in college football, to claim your new player offer worth up to $1,500 off your first wager with BetMGM. So come see us on the Court of Legends and make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S., call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari On3 presented by BetMGM. It is a glorious, glorious Monday, Ari, because we are talking about college football games that are going to happen. Spring practice is starting this week at a bunch of schools. Like, it's the off season, and I know we have a lot of off season left, but days like today make me feel I can make it.
This is March. Let's go, baby.
That's right.
I feel like there's no more appropriate way to bask in the newness of March by talking about some of the matchups that get your blood boiling, Andy. I'm super excited. And the coolest thing about this list is formulated based on what we know currently. Do you know how many games we're going to get based on things that we don't know currently that are also going to be awesome later on? Like, it's going to be amazing. So some of these games might actually age out of not being that interesting, although most of them will because of the feelings aspect of it. You know how much I like feelings. Mm-hmm. But think about, like, there are certain games on this list, if you want to go through some of them now, that didn't make the cut. Like Ohio State, Michigan is not on this list.
Yeah, because we don't know if it's going to be interesting yet.
But if Michigan's like a one-loss team and Ohio State's a one-loss team, that would be maybe number one. So, like,
freaking game of the year.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, by the way, was a lot of honorable mentions. Ohio State USC was an honorable mention. You mentioned Ohio State Michigan. Ohio State Indiana is an honorable mention. Ohio State playing a hard schedule is just good for college football. It's just fun. But as you pointed out, if you look at this list, we've only got 2 games that are in November on this list because a lot of stuff has to happen before we get there. And the season will set up the juiciness of most of those November games. But there are some fun games on this list. Let's start with number 10. We're going to Kyle Field. You and I were at this game the last time it was at Kyle Field. Texas at Texas A&M. Texas has beaten Texas A&M 3 times in a row, but that dates back to 2011. So this is an extra psychic weight that Texas A&M has to carry.
Yeah. It is just a reminder of how deep this list is, Andy, because I cannot believe this is number 10. And, a lot of it has to do with, former lovers returning back to the home of their foes, and there's nothing that can be done results-wise to change any of the compelling natures of that. But when you think about this is one of the best rivalries in college football, and we're 2 years removed from it, but the first time I went to Kyle Field ever was for that game, and I'm comfortable saying that it sucked. Like, it wasn't like, obviously the place is a cathedral, and it's unlike any other place in college football. The fans are great. I'm not saying that A&M Stadium isn't loud, but you remember the tenor of that game. It wasn't like a blowout, but Texas A&M wasn't really in it. The crowd kind of got out of it a little bit.
Texas sucked the energy out of it very quickly. And so it's interesting because in both cases, since this rivalry's return with Texas coming to the SEC, in both cases, they've both been good teams. But the game kind of went the same way both times, where Texas kind of boa constricted Texas A&M defensively. And that's what has to change for Texas A&M. Marcel Reed, if you look at those last 2 games of the year, he was great for most of the year. Those last 2 games, the Texas game, the Miami game, they bottled him up. They kept him in the pocket, forced him to make throws that he could not make in those situations. In both of those games, he had a terrible yards per attempt, very inefficient, and had 0 touchdowns and 2 picks in both of those games. So he's got to be better in this game. But Texas A&M, just for the sake of the rivalry, for the sake of well, we said battered Aggie syndrome's gone. I don't know if it is. Like, I think it came back when Texas beat them in Austin this year.
Yeah.
They got to figure out how to beat these guys, because if they don't, like, Texas A&M moving to the SEC changed Texas A&M's identity. And it's interesting because I made that list of ranking the realignment moves of the 2010s and had Texas A&M number 1. And I said, they changed their identity, and all the Texas A&M fans agreed wholeheartedly. Of course, everything felt different. And the Texas fans are like, it's not really any different. But it is different because Texas A&M is far less little brother globally to Texas now. But if they can't beat Texas, you go right back to being little brother. So you got to stop getting beat by Texas.
Yeah, you're making me want to put it higher on the list, Andy, because, we spent so much time, if you think about like how many minutes we spent on this show talking about Ryan Day's inability to beat Michigan and what that meant for his placement in that rivalry. Like, this is every bit as bitter of a rivalry. Now, maybe not quite to the same extent because they also have different rivals, but in terms of me living in the state and feeling the hate on a day-to-day basis is as tangible here as it was when I lived in Columbus. And now you're talking about a team in A&M that was supposed to have their own season last year. They were undefeated going into the Texas A&M or the Texas game. They went on the road and they ended up losing, I would say, kind of convincingly, maybe not on the scoreboard, but it seemed like Texas controlled that game from start to finish for the most part. And it's like, when does it start becoming a mental thing with Elko? Everything with Elko is perfect, and A&M is ahead of schedule, and they made the playoff, and they literally almost beat the national championship runner-up at home in the first round. Like, there's a lot to feel good about, but at what point does the inability to beat Texas start becoming bigger than maybe it has been? Because I think you get the benefit of the doubt, at the beginning. And on the other side of this too, Andy, Texas has not broken through yet under Steve Sarkisian. They've made the playoffs a few times, and they've already stepped through the first step of the development, have become a new place, but they haven't broken through all the way. So if they are a bubble team, to borrow a March term, or a team or one,
and these could both be bubble teams. We have no idea how the first year of 9-game SEC schedules is going to work out.
Going back
conference
to
game SEC
field,
schedules.
and what if and if A&M beats Texas and knocks Texas out of the playoff? I mean, there are very, very many scenarios that could come into play in this game, Andy, that make this a pretty big pressure cooker for Texas too. So I don't want to just make it about Elko, but right now, you don't want to start off 0-3 against your rival in the middle of a build. So I think this is highly compelling.
And I wonder, because we had the same conversation about Ohio State, Michigan, and when Ohio State lost to Michigan and then went on to win the national title. Like, if Texas A&M, let's say they either got a different draw in the playoff, or they had, that pass gets caught by an Aggie in the end zone and not by a Hurricane in the end zone, and A&M wins. and they go, to the semifinals or go to the national championship game, are we talking about this differently? Well, I think we probably are talking about this differently, but I think because of the way A&M's season ended with Texas's defense controlling that game and then Miami's defense controlling Texas A&M's offense in that game, we know where the improvement needs to come for Texas A&M. We know where, if they're going to take the next step, because remember, in both these games, since the rivalry was renewed, Texas A&M has been able to do next to nothing offensively against Texas.
Yeah.
And by the way, Texas under new management on defense now, which is interesting because it's not like Pete Kwiatkowski did a terrible job, but they part ways with him. They bring in Will Muschamp, who's a very good defensive coordinator. It's going to be interesting to see how that changes, but because Kwiatkowski had A&M's number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, this is, and the fact that it's back in College Station, like it just feels like it's going to be another big time game, and whoever wins it, like, it's all about steps and levels, right? You don't just go from being okay to winning the national title. Well, you start off 10 or 11-0, then maybe your season doesn't end the way that you want, but then you want to build off of that. I don't think that Texas A&M is a completely built program until they can field a team that is physically equipped to handle Texas, whether it be at home or on the road. So, this is going to be a continued storyline for Elko as he builds that program, and he's on the right track. But, this is going to be a big, big, big game, and it had to be on this list.
Little BetMGM guess the line here, because obviously they haven't put out any of the early lines yet on this stuff.
It's a total insane question on your part, Andy, but I'd love to play
because everything's going to change during the season. But based on what we know now, what would you put the line of this game?
Texas minus 3.5.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair until we see Texas A&M do some stuff offensively. And look, it may be completely different by the time they get to this game. But this rivalry, the bitterness of it, the kind of Texas looking down their nose, Texas A&M being obsessed with Texas even when they weren't playing.
Saw varsity's horns off.
The song's about Texas. Like, there's a lot about Texas. And eventually A&M has to break through.
Eventually you actually have to saw varsity's horns off, or you got to stop singing it, right? You got to
don't get the sway anymore unless you actually saw varsity's horns off. Yeah. We shall see, but that is a fun one. Our next game is our other November game. Our number 9 is our other November game. And it is a quarterback returning to play against his old team. And oh boy, this is going to be, I don't know, both of these that we have on our list are contentious, but this one's going to be pretty nasty, I think. Duke at Miami. So Darian Mensah was Duke's quarterback last year, led Duke to an ACC title. Miami did not win the ACC title, but was the ACC team that made the playoff and made it to the national title game. It was clear Miami wanted to transfer quarterback, but as the transfer portal wound down, didn't have one yet. And then on the day before the portal closes, it comes out that Darian Mensah wants out. And where does he want to go? Miami.
Now, I think this game would be a little bit higher on the list if the game were at Duke. Unfortunately, it's in Miami, so at least Darian Mensah will have the comfort of his friends around him.
It's not like Wallace Wade Stadium is known for being like a snake pit there.
No, I know, but like going back home, I think is more compelling than your ex-lover coming to you. I mean, think about like you were dating somebody and you had to like see them. It's much easier to see them on your home turf. But I do think that no matter how this goes, like we don't know what Duke is going to be. Duke is the defending ACC champion, something that Miami has never done. So maybe they'll be very good again next year. But part of the reason they were very good or good enough to win their conference was because they had a star quarterback who's no longer on their team. So,
by the way, as you're talking, we have photos of Manny Diaz running. Let us not forget that Miami had Manny Diaz as his head coach and fired him to hire Mario Cristobal. So there's also that.
Yeah, I mean, this is how rivalries start, but Duke has to hold up its end of the bargain. I don't know. We are still very early in the roster turnover phase to be 100% familiar with how good everyone's going to be, and there will be teams that jump out of nowhere. Duke has to hold up their end of the bargain. Like if Duke is like a 500 team or less than 500 team going into this game in November, like it might not be as compelling if Miami is
Ari,
wrong.
we are talking about the defending ACC champions. Show some freaking respect.
No, I know. Sorry, how dare I? But they do need to hold up their end of the bargain. That's a fact. I think we know that Miami is going to be at least very good or pretty good, maybe even great.
I think they're going to be very good. Yeah.
So I just don't want this to be a 17.5 point spread is all I'm saying. Because like that's what would ruin it, knock it off the list. But the feelings aspect of it, this is the feelings bowl. And on both sides of it, Miami was the aggressor in the scorned lover disputes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they kicked Manny Diaz to the curb. They stole Darian Mensah. Like there's a lot of emotional angst going on here.
Yeah. And I think that this is for the ball heads, really. Like, I don't know if this is the type of game that like some random fan that like watches top 5 matchups on night games on Saturday nights really going to get after. But like, if you listen to the show, you can probably feel the
if you are our people, you're circling this one very, very early.
Yeah.
Speaking of early, let's get to our next game, our number 8 game, Oregon at USC. This is it's not the Big Ten opener for USC. It is USC's second Big Ten game. But remember, USC drops Notre Dame. They go get San Jose State. So this was because of the difficulty of the Big Ten schedule.
Soft.
But it's San Jose State, Fresno State, the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, and then they open Big Ten play against Rutgers. And then it begins for USC. They have a stretch of Oregon, Washington, and Penn State, starting with Oregon coming to the Coliseum. This is the game, Ari, last year where USC goes to Autzen Stadium, and USC is still in playoff contention. If USC beats Oregon, they probably make the playoff, and that it was never that competitive. This is where USC shows we are here to make the playoff. We are here to be part of the Big Ten race, or it's where they say, all right, we're not on Oregon's level again.
You know how we did this list because I like want it to be higher, and that just shows you how awesome we like all the games above it are better. Like this is like the Lincoln Riley. Are you going to just do it already? Like what are we? What is this year? Is this year 6 or year?
This
5?
is year 5.
Year 5. Oh yeah, because I had to pay last. Was that no? Like,
after year 3, you had to pay. Yes.
Oh, it was the first 3 years. Sorry, I thought that was 4 years. Okay, yeah, year 5. That's a half a decade. That's a long time in college football world. Like go do it. And like I also love too that USC gets to maintain some of its Pac-12 rivalries. This was always a big game back in that day, and you know I don't know what the future Big Ten schedules are going to hold, but I'm assuming there's going to be a day and time where you know USC and Oregon don't play every year. So I think we should savor these moments too because it kind of reminds me of the past. But yeah, this is a ultimate shit or get off the pot moment, right? Like this is do or die. Are we going to do? Because like what? Like put up USC schedule again. By the way, do you see that?
That's the thing. And you could say, oh, they could just lose it. Well, if they lose this one, they still have to play Washington, Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana.
And Wisconsin's in the middle, and we don't know what Wisconsin's going to be. Maybe Wisconsin turns out to be an 8-win team this year, and that's not an easy game to go on the road. Like they're going to be in Madison in late October. Like that's like a really rough schedule. And, you know, if Notre Dame were now I kind of understand why they don't want to play it because like that would just be like impossible to make the playoff probably. Or I guess they could have just tried to be really good, but you know, that's too much.
Be good.
But you know, this is a pivotal game that they need. You don't want to start off that stretch with a loss against Oregon because like it's also you touched on this, Andy. It's not just a loss in the standings. It's also a litmus test. It's a measuring stick of who you are as a program. And you're always going to compare yourself to Oregon because you're a former Pac-12 member, and Oregon does a lot of its recruiting in your state and has traditionally built its program up from players from your state. So, like, if you are ready to compete at a high level, you can't lose this game, and it's at home, right? It's like
it is at home.
At home. So
for the Ducks, this is their Big Ten opener, and their schedule's not easy either. Like their Big Ten schedule is pretty rough too. So they can't really afford to drop this one either. This is a team that we think is almost there. We think is almost over the hump. Like if you look at what Oregon brings back on defense, they are going to be nasty on defense. They're going to be awesome on defense. We think they're going to be pretty good on offense too. But they've got to play Illinois. They've got to play former Oregon head coach Chip Kelly as Northwestern's offensive coordinator. They're at Ohio State. They get Michigan. And, of course, the Washington rivalry. And I think Washington is going to be very good this year. So they have no slouch of a Big Ten schedule. And they need to keep showing progress, which progress for them, like they got to make it to the national championship game to equal progress over last year. So they've had probably a higher bar than USC has, but they need to win this game because it doesn't get much easier after this. They're still going to be challenged quite a bit going forward. They can't afford to slip up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Super compelling. And you know how I am with the Lincoln Riley feelings. Like that really gets my juices flowing. I love that we used juiciest as the word for this list because I think it's perfectly appropriate.
They're very juicy. And that's the thing, because I think USC people are very excited about this season, and I understand why. You just brought in this number one recruiting class. You bring back a really good quarterback in Jade Mayava. You've got some good players, young players who played last year who showed a lot of promise. I do think USC people should be excited about this. This, though, is kind of where the rubber meets the road. This is where you decide, I want to stay excited or uh-oh. And I think that's what it is. I think because US people, the USC fans, at least the ones who interact with me on social media, have gotten much more cynical about Lincoln Riley as the years have gone on.
Why?
Because I've been kind of even keel regarding Lincoln Riley. Like I've never been as high as you are on him, but I also don't think he's terrible. And I think he can be he's still a very young guy. He can be an all-time great head coach if a few things get buttoned up.
Yeah.
But the USC fans I interact with they've gone from he's the greatest, stop criticizing him, to stop blowing sunshine up our you-know-whats we've seen the last couple of years. So I get it. I get where you are. This game is the kind of one where those people, they go back on his bandwagon. If USC wins this, they may be all the way off if USC loses.
Yeah, or the torches come out. Yeah.
Yeah, or if it looks like it did, because last year's game was not a blowout, but you were never really worried about Oregon in that game.
Yeah, I think that even if USC were to lose by 3 in a tight game, you might still take something from it. Like I know we're in a no morals victory thing. I think that you want to see a product.
But Oregon might be the best team in the country. So we don't.
Right. I don't know that it's win or go home. I think it is match their athleticism and show that you belong athletically on the same field. Like your program is akin to that. Because the thing that's been the most hard thing for them to swallow, Andy, more than anything, is that it's not just that they're not winning a lot of games. It's that they know their program isn't equal to the place that has pillaged their state for talent. So it seems like USC has made some major strides in their NIL front, and how I feel about Southern California. The Orange County Zillow page is like my homepage on my browser. Like I think that like there is a lot to be excited about, and I was very excited when he was hired. We said it many times on the show. I thought for sure they were going to be a new power because that was Oklahoma Lincoln Riley, and then the Oklahoma Lincoln Riley and some of the deficits or deficiencies that he had when he was there that Oklahoma fans were quick to point out once he left actually turned out to be true. So let's see if he can overcome them. I think they fixed their defense and it's gotten better over the last few years.
They lost their DC. He went to Penn State.
So they have to move on from that and figure that out. But that schedule in general, if you're a USC fan who says CFP or bust, you might, if they win 9 games, you might have a case. So, I guess it obviously depends on how great Indiana is. I think that's kind of a question mark too of you lose your core, you lose your quarterback who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Are you still elite or are you just a solid team? I don't know what that's going to be. There's a lot to unpack there, but USC has to at least exist on this field with Oregon and look like they're an equal counterpart.
Right. And I mentioned they lost Anton Lynn, the defensive coordinator to Penn State. They did pick up Gary Patterson, though.
Yeah.
And Gary
Which is
Patterson
badass.
has been,
Yeah.
And Gary Patterson's an all-time great coach. Like defensively, was calling the defense at TCU for most of those years. I think he might be the greatest evaluator in the history of the sport, because he can just look at some guy who in 10th grade who's playing running back and be like, you're an NFL defensive end, and be right. So I'm excited to see what he does there. And I think that's the thing. USC people have every reason to be excited going into this season. This will be the first real test where you decide, okay, am I still excited, or is this more of the same? And I think if it's, am I still excited coming out of this game? And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a USC win to still be excited. But I think that this will tell us a lot. We will learn something from this game.
Yeah.
Number 7, another quarterback. Now, this time the quarterback is going back to the place he left. Oh, by the way, he's getting sued by that place, too. It is Texas Tech headed to Cincinnati. Brendan Sorsby returns to Nippert Stadium for the first time since leaving the Bearcats for the Red Raiders.
You're going through an absolutely bloody divorce with your wife. And she is hosting your 3-year-old daughter's birthday party at her house. That's what this is.
Yes, that's exactly right.
You're being sued. And you got to go back to the house that you may have paid for.
Exactly. You at least helped pay for it. And at that point, maybe you have paid something. I don't know if they've settled or what the deal is.
You also are bringing your rocket girlfriend, right? Yeah. Because Texas Tech's going to be very good. So, like,
you're bringing. There'll be a lot of talent on your arm.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Yeah, everybody in the room is going to think you're an asshole, but at least you can hold your head high. I think that this is going to be fun. I think it's going to be entertaining, and there's nothing better in college football than comparing a game to real life, actually sad situations where people get divorced. So, it is a.
Why bring it down? We were having so much fun.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I think I lean on the relationship stuff too much, but it is. I mean, but isn't that kind of what it is? The person.
No, there's definitely a rom-com vibe to this, and Texas Tech's supporting cast is Brendan Sorsby's revenge body. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm bringing this defense that's going to try to bury your quarterback, and maybe they probably will.
Or his hidden bank account from all the money that he was hiding from his ex-partner, which is part of the reason they're getting divorced.
He's not hiding it. He's just like, I'm not paying you.
It was a hidden account. People, and look, I'm rich. You didn't know this.
Meanwhile, J.C. French, Georgia Southern's all-time leading passer. That's Cincinnati's new QB. What if he just lights it up? What if the new man in Cincinnati's life turns out to be the stepdad, the dad who stepped up?
Well, I think that Cincinnati in general is kind of an interesting program at the moment too, because like last year, Satterfield came into the season kind of on the hot seat, and then they won, I believe, 6 or 7 games in a row. And then did you see how their season ended? Obviously, you did. They lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, it was rough.
Arizona, BYU, and TCU. And then ultimately lit Navy in their bowl game, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. So, it wasn't the best ending, but at least it did feel like there was some progress to be made there. I'm very curious what Cincinnati is going to be, and I'm assuming that Nippert is going to be quite fired up for this game. And this is kind of what I was saying, with that Mensa is not going to have to deal with, which is going back to a place where everybody hates you. He's hosting the birthday party. Brendan Sorsby has to go to it and has to wear those.
And Nippert is already a pretty intense place to play. The fans are right on top of you.
Yeah.
It's kind of dug into the ground. This is going to be an intense environment. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah. And, one of these quarterbacks is probably going to lose. So we'll see which one it is. But that's how college football goes. I don't know if both are just going to go and.
You mean Mensa or Sorsby?
Something crazy is going to happen, right? It's the sport. I don't know which one it's going to be.
Something crazy always happens. That's the beauty.
It's the king of grab ass. So, certainly higher on the list because of the location of the game, in my opinion.
Let us move to number 6 on our list. This was a tough one because this could be number one by the time we get to this game. It is Penn State at Michigan. And we haven't seen this game in a couple of years. We haven't seen this game since the Sharon Moore taking over for Jim Harbaugh, because Jim Harbaugh got suspended while they were in midair headed to State College.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have Matt Campbell leading Penn State against Kyle Whittingham's Michigan. We'll start with the Penn State part of it, because they're both in very different situations. In this particular situation, where this falls in the schedule, Penn State will have just played USC at home. By the way, Lincoln Riley, it doesn't get much easier after the Oregon thing, but Penn State will have just played USC at home. Then they go to Ann Arbor. If they beat USC, there's a good chance that this game can kind of lock up the playoff for them if they win it. If you look at the rest of the schedule, they would still probably have a mulligan and would have a fairly manageable schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah. I mean,
if they've lost to USC, then it's sort of a desperation, like, hey, we need to win this thing.
Based on the way the Big Ten's old divisions were set up, and during a time when Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan were all very good to solid teams, like, this became one of the most pivotal matchups on an annual basis, and I believe kind of felt rivalry-ish to me. And you have two teams that are in transition mode, both probably unexpectedly in this position too. If you would have told both teams that they would have new coaches heading into this coming season in the middle of, March last year, they would have been like, what the hell happened? Both for very different reasons, but both maybe
a lot, guys. A lot happened.
Yeah. So I think that you have two coaches that are, in a position where they have to show early returns and they want to be successful out of the gate. And I think this is going to be a good measuring stick for both of these programs to say, hey, where are we? Who's superior at the moment, and who's going to be more ready to, climb the ladder and get back to where they were and overcome some of their hardships, whether it be self-inflicted or just bad circumstances with these two teams.
Now, Michigan is going to be challenged before they get here. They'll have already played Oklahoma. They'll have already played Iowa. So it's not like they're not going to be challenged. This is a tough schedule. Michigan's schedule is much tougher than Penn State's. Much tougher. If Michigan's going to make the playoff, they probably have to win this game, because they play Ohio State, they play Oregon, they play Indiana, they play Iowa, they play Oklahoma. Like, all of those could be playoff teams, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough schedule too. So, and like, part of the reason why Ohio State Michigan's not on the list, guys, just so you know, is because this game is going to predicate how important that one is. Not that it's not going to be important to the people involved in it, but like, I'm very curious, like, what Michigan actually is in November. If Michigan's a 10-win team in November and is going to Columbus, you could throw that in the top three. I mean, that's just an automatic every year. So we'll see where it goes. But the emotional aspect of it, I do think it's inherently interesting to watch a coach in Michigan or coaching Michigan exist in that rivalry for the first time. But we know that Kyle Whittingham has done a very good job in that with his record against BYU while at Utah. So I'm sure he'll have his boys ready to play. So that's a really exciting Big Ten change of the guard type situation. And no matter what happens before that, I think it's going to be interesting, because even if like Michigan stumbles a few times, it's just like, is Whittingham going to lose the boat right out of the gate? Like, it's going to be fascinating no matter what.
Yeah. And if things are going well for Michigan, this is one of those where if you win this one, you go into a pretty difficult stretch with a lot of confidence. And that's the thing I'm most excited about is we're showing Bryce Underwood now on the screen. If you're listening in podcast form, what is Bryce Underwood going to look like in this offense? What is Bryce Underwood going to look like with coaching that isn't just melting down? I mean, I go back to like the Northwestern game at the end of the season. That was just frustrating to watch. But this guy can be really good. He has all of the tools that he needs to be a great quarterback. And so Jason Beck comes in as the OC. Whittingham's the head coach. You keep Andrew Marsh. You keep a lot of the line. It feels like he's ready to take a big step, and he will be challenged. I mean, he will be challenged pretty much from the get-go. great defenses right off the bat in Oklahoma and Iowa. And then this will be one where you're at home, you're playing as a team that should be fairly equal to you. And where do you stack up? Because I think this is one of the thing about a lot of these that we've picked, they're kind of representative. They feel like a game where we will learn a lot about both teams. This feels like a game we will learn a lot about Bryce Underwood, Michigan, Kyle Whittingham's Michigan, what it is. I think it's going to be so much fun to watch this new regime go through this season because, they're going to be challenged over and over and over again. But for Matt Campbell, and like, Ari, think about this. There's so many alternate histories where if the jobs had come open at different times or the Sharon Moore firing had happened at a different time, like Matt Campbell might be Michigan's coach right now.
Yeah, without question. And I think he would have done that. I mean, if he would have done it for Penn State, he certainly would have done it for Michigan. Yeah, this is ultra compelling, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Let us go to number 5, the 5th juiciest game. And this one, we go into the SEC here. Florida at Auburn. This is the SEC opener for both teams. It is on September 19th. And we talk about alternate histories and which coach went where. John Sumrall was down the road with Auburn. He was a ways down the road with Auburn to replace Hugh Freeze. And then it didn't happen, in part because Florida came real hard. Once Lane Kiffin ghosted Florida, they had to figure out what to do. John Sumrall quickly became number 1 on their list, and they came after him very hard. And so this is another alternate history situation because if John Sumrall takes Auburn, Alex Golesh is probably the head coach at Arkansas. Don't know who the head coach at Florida is, but very different world that we're living in.
Yes. I was watching the Florida basketball game on Saturday night when they dropped 100 on who was it they were playing?
Arkansas. 111. Yeah.
And John Sumrall was behind the bench just like cheering his ass off. I'm like, that guy could have been Auburn's coach. Like I had that thought. And I guess maybe it is kind of a small world, but obviously too, Andy, anytime you have two programs that want to compete at a high level, expect to compete at a high level, who have hired, a new coach, not to mention the fact that they were both interested in the same one, and you're breaking those guys in at the same time, like that's just SEC football at its peak, right? Which team is going to be on the fast track? Which team's already going to want to fire their new coach? Like we're going to find out.
I don't think either of these teams are going into this year expecting playoffs or expecting to be dominant in the SEC. They kind of want to see where they are in year one with their new coach. But this is one of those where people are, because this is how these fan bases operate. Like whoever loses this game, the fan base will be ready to jump off a bridge.
Yeah, and they're going to be like, we're behind Auburn still. We're behind Florida still. Like it's everything's a measuring stick. Everything is a comparison. And, part of that's because of us. But I think that the fans too, are educated and smart enough to say, hey, we are in similar boats. We hired coaches. We had the same time to improve our rosters. How are we not as good as the team that was, theoretically in the same exact position that we were in? And I don't know if that's always a fair comparison. It's not always apples to apples. Florida did a good job of retaining some of its best players. Auburn brought in a really exciting quarterback, but lost their best receiver. Like it's not the same exact situation, but they will be viewed the same way by the fans and whoever loses the game.
Also, Auburn quarterback Byron Brown, no stranger to beating Florida. He went into the swamp with USF and beat Florida last year. And obviously he's not the only one coming from USF. So there's several players on this team who've already beaten Florida once and beat them at their place with a team that wasn't supposed to win. So
yeah, Byron Brown is a quarterback who got both coaches new jobs in this game.
That's entirely true because, Byron Brown helped contribute to the firing of Billy Napier. So, yeah.
He helped contribute. That was it. Like, I think that game was over.
That probably was it. Yeah. I mean, other things happened before he got fired, but that probably was the end, right?
Yeah, I think that it was like, unless Florida goes undefeated and shows that was a complete anomaly, which was never going to happen, like everybody was out at that point.
Yeah, and we don't know what the Florida's quarterback situation is going to be yet. Aaron Philo and Tramel Jones will be in competition this spring. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Aaron Philo is from Georgia Tech. Buster Faulkner, the new offensive coordinator from Georgia Tech. That's the starter for sure. I wouldn't go so far. If you watched our interview with John Summerall last week, he was pretty adamant that this is going to be a real competition. They had to work pretty hard to keep Tramel Jones Jr., who I think probably would have had a chance to be a starter elsewhere. So I do think it will be.
People are excited about him in Gainesville, no?
Yes, they are. They are. And so I do think it'll be a legitimate competition to see who winds up playing quarterback for the Gators. It's not at Auburn. It's Byron Brown. They, we talked to Alex Golish, and he said, bringing his center, bringing Byron Brown from USF allows him to sleep at night because he knows the offense is going to, at least from the beginning of each play, function the way it's intended to function. And I think that is a pretty comforting thing.
Yeah.
But this is going to be so much fun because, like, you've seen Auburn. And again, we've mentioned this stat on the show. It still doesn't feel real to me. But Auburn has not had a winning season since 2019. That is insane.
It's a long time.
And the fans keep showing up. I mean, think about how they reacted. And I hate to say it, they're at their most enthusiastic every time they fire a coach. And like, think about when Cadillac Williams was the interim and how much they showed up. But they showed up last year when Hugh Freeze got fired. They have been through a lot. And
maybe this is a good show for next week. Top 10 most tortured fan bases in the moment.
Oh, I like it. So this is going to be a fun game. There's going to be a bunch of these. The thing about the SEC coaching carousel this past year is that a lot of it was predicated on where John Summerall landed. And so that affected everybody else. And this one had a huge effect. And now you have Alex Golish at Auburn where, you've seen him on the show, guys. This guy sounds like he knows what he's doing. This guy sounds like somebody who can get Auburn in the place where they want it to go. And Auburn wanted to be able to keep DJ Durkin as the defensive coordinator. They did. So we'll find out. SEC opener for both teams. We stay in the SEC area and head to number 4 on our list. And this is a game between two teams that we didn't get all that much in the SEC divisional era. We tended to get it in the SEC championship game or even in the playoff. But now we're getting it more in the regular season. And it has been fun the last couple regular seasons. So Georgia heads to Alabama. Alabama has won the last 2 regular season matchups, and Georgia, of course, crushed Alabama in the SEC championship game last year. This one is a big one for Kalen DeBoer. Kirby Smart's place in the world is very secure and safe. Kalen DeBoer won this game last year, won this game the year before in the regular season. It's crazy to think that if you had 2 regular season wins against Georgia and you made the playoff one of those years, that people are unsure about you, but that is where Kalen DeBoer is right now.
Yeah, isn't it kind of wild? And the other thing too, and like I know that it's like a tricky scenario, and I don't know if like a bunch of people who hate Mike Bobo or is clouding my judgment, but like, when do Georgia fans get restless too? Not in any like way of like saying they would want their coach gone or anything, but frustrated. I'm sure they're already there. In terms of being used to being the premier program or the premier team in college football. And it's been quite some time since they were the dominant force that we are used to them being. And maybe that's just not the case for anybody anymore in this new sport. But, with the SEC in general, these are the 2 teams, you had a little bit of LSU sprinkled in there that have kind of been carrying the banner for the SEC for the past decade. And neither of them have been truly elite in quite some time. So, that said, there are also teams that could turn around and win the national title next year. And that wouldn't be overly shocking to anybody because, again, they've amassed talent at a very impressive rate. But, this game in general is the 2 premier brands in the SEC playing in Tuscaloosa during a time in which at least one program is very uncertain about the future of their coach. Unless anybody's trying to hire him, that is. So, like, that is kind of
that's the craziest part is we just went through 2 weeks of Michigan really wants Kalen DeBoer, but Kalen DeBoer's got a playoff game. And the Bama fans are like, that's our coach. You can't take our coach. And the playoff game happens. They win it. And then they go get just boat raced by Indiana. It's like, why didn't you take our coach?
I mean, it's funny how wins and losses in the playoff, change the way things are viewed. But I mean, they did win a playoff.
I mean, Georgia's in the same boat though. 2 years of the 12-team playoff, they've had a bye into the quarterfinals both years, and they've lost in the quarterfinals both years. Which to Georgia fans who have become accustomed to going deep, being in the national championship conversation every single year, that's ultra frustrating for them. So, like, if you're Kirby, the pressure doesn't really relent on you. You still have to win games like this to be in position to get back in the playoff, to then go deeper in the playoff to satisfy everybody.
I mean, it is kind of funny to me that Alabama made the playoff, won a playoff game, and still it feels this dire. But again, these are two fan bases that are used to only one thing, and that is win.
Yeah.
And, any departure from that is a concerning thing. And, frankly speaking, this is ultra compelling just based on the helmets. It's also compelling based on the time in the calendar that it is, because it's still fairly early in the season, and it might set the table for the way that things go for the rest of the year for both teams. But, you can bet your ass that when Alabama takes the field, at Bryant-Denny, they're going to figure out, really quickly who they are. And the answer better be that they're very good,
Well, here's the thing. I think they need to be 5-0 going into this game. So Alabama goes East Carolina, at Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina at home, at Mississippi State going into this game. They should win all those. And I think one of the criticisms of Kalen DeBoer, probably the harshest criticism of Kalen DeBoer, is that Alabama does not play great against the teams that it should beat. So if you go by that logic, of course Alabama is going to be up for this Georgia game. No problem. It's Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina, Mississippi State in Starkville, which, like, if you saw Kamario Taylor at the end of the year, there's reason to be excited about what they could be. They've got to win those games. Like, those are the games Kalen DeBoer needs to consistently win in Alabama that Nick Saban always won, that I think their fan base gets frustrated because you don't know when they're going to throw up a stinker now. And I think that's the biggest issue. And you go back to last year, like when they went to Columbia, South Carolina, they had to fight their asses off to get out of there.
Right.
Fight their asses off.
Yeah. And you never know. But in my opinion, if Alabama drops a game they're not supposed to, or something like Florida State happens again, then this game becomes even more compelling. Like, I think that, like, when the bar for both programs is so high, winning is interesting and losing is very interesting. So we'll see how it turns out. But Andy, I'm super pumped for this game specific. And honestly speaking, like, the two banner programs in the SEC, if they're going to remain that, or if LSU is going to creep up, or someone else is going to creep up and take that title.
Yeah, producer River asks, is this a Heisman game for Gunnar Stockton? We'll see. I mean, Gunnar Stockton was really good as the season went on last year. I don't know if people realize he had 10 rushing touchdowns also last year.
Yeah. No, he's underappreciated.
He's a good quarterback. Yeah,
he's
a very good quarterback. And we don't know whether it's going to be Austin Mack or Keelan Russell starting for Alabama. So we don't really know
in this
how
game
that's going to look.
Really compelling, Andy. Who knows? What if we have, like, musical quarterback grab ass for Alabama going into the year?
Oh, we're going to play 2 against East Carolina.
Yeah.
Listen,
don't rule it out, man.
It's all on the table.
Yeah.
And the question, like, can Alabama run the ball? Obviously, they've replaced their offensive line coach and tight ends coach with the intent of being a better running team. Mm-hmm. Georgia was the one that truly exposed how bad they were at running the ball. They were not great at running the ball toward the end of last season, but Georgia absolutely demolished them. Demolished them in the SEC championship game because Alabama couldn't run the ball. That is going to be another big measuring stick for this new regime. It's not a completely revamped offensive staff, but the new parts of the offensive staff were specifically tailored to being able to run the ball better. This will be the biggest challenge they will have faced to that point. It's going to be so much fun. And Bryant-Denny, of course, is going to be electric that night. Electric.
Yeah.
Ari, we move to number 3, and this game, when it was played last year in week 1, was amazing. And then it became the gift that kept on giving in terms of controversy and debate for the remainder of the season. I speak, of course, of Miami Notre Dame, the game that introduced us to CJ Carr for Notre Dame and Malachi Toney for Miami, and really just lit the fuse on the 2025 college football season in a debate that lasted until Selection Sunday. Now, Miami goes to Notre Dame, but the difference here, and this is a key difference, this game's November 7th. This is not the season opener. This is where the ACC put it because this is part of the Notre Dame ACC scheduling alliance. So Notre Dame needed this. Notre Dame needed a good ACC team that got slotted against them in November, especially in a year where they lose USC in the schedule.
Yeah. I was trying to think about this, Andy, just now when you said this, but when's the last time, and maybe there's an obvious one, I'm just being an idiot, that like the first game or one of the first games of the regular season lit the fuse for the story that prevailed throughout the entire year? Like that was a very interesting dynamic because it was a close game. It was a thrilling game. And then it was the game that we kept referencing for the next 3 months. Like it was
seen
wild.
It for different reasons. Like in 2008, Alabama crushes Clemson in Atlanta in the season opener. And that was where Clemson was supposed to be the best team in the ACC. They end up firing Tommy Bowden. They end up hiring Dabo as the interim. And then Alabama goes on and goes undefeated in the regular season, plays for the SEC title. Like that was kind of the story of the season in one game. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like week after week at the end of the season, we relitigated that Miami Notre Dame game last year because it had such a huge effect on the playoff. And the crazy part about it is if the rules that are in effect for 26 were in effect in 25, it wouldn't have mattered that Miami won that game. Notre Dame, because they finished in the top 12 in the playoff ranking, would have made the playoff. So
or they could have just moved them to 13.
They could have. They might have. Who knows?
I don't know what they would have done, but yeah.
I don't think they would have done that. But it's amazing how much gravy that game made. Now, this is going to be a little bit different situation because it falls in the middle of the schedule. Notre Dame does not have the 2 toughest games of its season to start out. They start out with Wisconsin and Rice. We talked about the schedule the other day. It's not particularly challenging. If it had USC on it instead of BYU, it would be maybe more challenging. I don't know. BYU is going to be good too. But this is not what they intended. They would like to be finishing the season at USC like they do in most even years.
This game is ultra compelling because of last year, but this game might actually ultimately turn out to be ultra compelling because depending on how Notre Dame season goes, they might absolutely need to win in order to bolster their resume enough to get into the playoff. Now, they might go undefeated or be a one-loss team, and it might not matter. I don't know. But if Notre Dame stumbles against somebody before this starts, they absolutely cannot lose it, or they're going to find themselves in the same exact situation that they were in last year, which is 10-2 without any real quality wins. And who knows? The schedule is a living, breathing organism, and we don't know which teams are going to come out of nowhere and turn out to be tough.
Yeah, Wisconsin and Michigan State suddenly get good. This schedule looks completely different.
Yeah, they lose to Michigan State or something in a weird game, and they go undefeated elsewhere based on what I'm looking at the schedule. Like maybe SMU will be a top 15 team. I don't know. But that's a pretty pivotal game and like the entire benchmark for like what Notre Dame is as a program next year. So like I hate, and I don't want to like relitigate the show from last week about Notre Dame and USC, but like if you look at Notre Dame's perspective, like my viewpoint still remains that like they would have stood to gain quite a bit from maybe playing and beating USC. Although USC's schedule is really hard, and maybe that would have turned out to be like last year's game. But like still, like they don't have enough meat on the bone as we stand here right now where this game isn't ultra important for them. So,
hey, you know who else doesn't? Miami. Producer River, please throw up Miami's schedule. If Clemson and Florida State aren't back, and there's no telling whether they would, this game matters a lot for Miami. Like Notre Dame's schedule, as it's written, might be tougher than Miami's. Like Clemson needs to be in, or this may not be a very tough schedule at all.
Yeah. It is kind of bad, isn't it?
we may like the craziest part about this list, this top 10 list we've done, is we may have Miami's 2 toughest games, and maybe there are only 2 tough games on the list. The Duke game and the Notre Dame game. And we don't know what the Duke game's going to be yet. We just know it's going to be juicy because the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But this is like imagine Clemson's not good again, and imagine Florida State's what they've been the last 2 years. Like Miami has to win this game, or they're in the Notre Dame spot from last year.
And the thing that is so interesting too is that we talk about, like, I think that Notre Dame in general is probably a more established program at the moment than Miami. Is that a fair thing to say? Like, they have already proven to be more reliable over year. I think they're kind of in the same place. They both were the national, like both of them have made a national title game the last 2 years. Yeah.
I think they feel like they're in similar spots.
Notre Dame also was a very good team this year. Again, they didn't get in the playoff, but they also had a playoff worthy team for a second consecutive year. And I'm very curious. I think it's very hard to imagine that Miami won't again be very good, especially against that schedule. But I think that game, it may or may not factor into how the CFP deliberates at the end of the year. But I certainly think, again, to get back to the measuring stick benchmark feelings discussion, that they are going to measure each other against each other. And whoever wins that game, it's a statement for where they are as a program. And I get into that. Like, I think that stuff matters. And I know that sometimes I can be a little
there's also the possibility, and this would make it less juicy if it happened this way, that they're both 11-1.
Yeah.
Or
it would be great.
One's 11-1, one's 12-0.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If they're both undefeated or they both have one loss. Well, again, if Notre Dame has one loss and they lose, then it becomes the same conversation again. But if it gets to a place where it doesn't matter, then at least we as consumers get a compelling game that like helps us kind of get the context of who's elite. And because I'm anticipating that both of these teams are going to be in the top 10 when they face each other. And when they do, it's going to be really good. And you can bet that Notre Dame's going to want that one. And you can bet that Miami is going to want to prove that they are a consistent winner now. Like Mario Cristobal has gradually improved that program year over year.
And these are 2 teams that really build well on both lines of scrimmage.
The scrimmage.
Like you're getting a playoff caliber, playoff quality line of scrimmage matchup when these 2 teams play. Yeah, and that is always going to be fun
this time. And they have to go up north in November, and that it's their turn to get their spot in the snow. But like I do think that this is a highly competitive game. It's a compelling game, and I think it will have impact both on the national discourse, the college football playoff discussion points, and of course the hierarchy of the sport in general, which I get into. So cannot wait for this game.
And I believe this is either going to be I have to check when the rankings reveals, or I don't even know if they've actually decided when they're going to be. This could be right after the first one or right before the first one.
Yeah.
Because for last year, it'd be right after the first one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's right after the first ranking. So this will be right after the first, which is the thing that kind of messed it all up.
Andy. I don't know anything about schedules.
It's usually right after Halloween. But the thing that messed everything up in terms of the debate last year, which probably set Notre Dame in a place where it made sense what their reaction was when they didn't get in. So having Notre Dame and Miami so far apart last year was what messed it all up. It'd be nice if they had these rankings come out before they play, and then they play, and then they can actually in real time adjust to it.
Yeah, I think if Miami would have been ranked ahead at the get-go, then we would have probably avoided some of the criticism that they got.
Or even if they'd have been a little closer together. Either one.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny how the argument, the framing of the argument changed over time too, Andy. If you remember, it was, Miami should have been ahead or Miami should have been behind, but then it turned out to be like, well, Notre Dame's fine being left out. They were just pissed they were lied to all year. Like, it's like that. And it's like my columns were saying the committee is lying. Like, it wasn't the way that it was supposed to be. So the College Football Playoff Committee does certainly hold some responsibility of the fallout of this thing. And my hope is next year it'll be a clean, competitive, obviously telling game that will, be ranked properly when it's concluded.
Yeah, that is going to be so much fun in the cold in South Bend. Oof. Let's go. I hope it was an early snowstorm. That would be awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Those Miami icy whites in the snow. Come on.
Oh, yeah. It's wild.
Who's not watching that?
Is we can do a green-white game? I don't know. We'll see what the uniforms are, but it'll be beautiful. And I will say this, South Bend is awesome, man. It is unlike any other place, and I love going there. So it'll be a fun time.
Let us head to Austin, Texas for a rematch of a game that we probably severely overreacted to last year. And we will probably severely overreact to this one this year, but I feel like this is completely different than the situation last year. Ohio State is going to play Texas. Last year, Texas opened the season against Ohio State in Columbus. This year, Ohio State goes to Texas in week 2. But the biggest difference about it is you will not have two quarterbacks making their first start. You will not have game plans that are designed to protect those quarterbacks. And, we made our opinions of Arch Manning pretty quickly. I don't think we had many opinions of Julian Sayin after that game because Ohio State really didn't ask him to do a whole lot and just tried to squeeze the life out of Texas's offense. But Julian Sayin went on to be a Heisman Trophy finalist, took his team into the playoff. Arch Manning got better as the season went on, was a pretty good quarterback by season's end. Their line got better as the season went on. This is going to be a completely different vibe for this matchup because you go in with two now experienced college quarterbacks who we agree are both pretty good.
Imagine being a human being that just thinks that they shouldn't play this game. God, couldn't be me. The thing that is interesting about this is that the compelling storylines that made last year the game of the century don't exist anymore. But then you also have two teams that expect to win a national championship playing in a rematch of a highly competitive game from the year before. And you have two quarterbacks that are now seasoned veterans who are going to, really lay the foundation of their Heisman campaigns potentially. Like you have two teams that expect to win the national championship and neither team that loses is going to be cooked. But, I think that it's a great information gathering game. As a result of Big Ten SEC supremacy, like Andy, this, the audience doesn't. I went on Crane & Co. and debated Brooks Austin for 45 minutes this morning for their show today about whether the Big Ten is as good as the SEC. These are the games that help fuel that debate. There's just nothing better than blue blood versus blue blood, man. And not just that, blue blood versus blue blood when they're both supposed to be very good.
Yeah. And I think I'm excited to see a more complete version of these teams because I think last year it was a little bit of feeling each other out. And can you imagine now that Ryan Day knows exactly what he gets out of Julian Sayin? There's no kid gloves there. You are letting Julian Sayin let it rip in this game. And that's going to be so much fun because you're probably going to have to because Texas is probably going to score more than they did last time. Let's go back to last year's game. The only time Texas really moved the ball is when they went up tempo right at the end, and it felt like it was kind of desperation mode. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think they're going to come in much more confident. This Ohio State defense will be in its own transition phase. But think about, we just got off the combine. Think about what Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles were.
Yeah.
They're freaks of nature that don't really exist anywhere else. Caleb Downs is gone too. Ohio State's defense is going to be the one in the transition phase, whereas last year it was Texas's offense and Ohio State's offense.
Well, one thing that we're also kind of forgetting is last year this was the opener, and they were very different teams, and they were feeling themselves out, not even just each other. They didn't even know who they were yet. This year, you're bringing back your quarterbacks, and you will have been playing. You would have played a game already. So when you finally play this game, it's not going to be this weird, awkward junior prom dance where you're holding each other at the waist, trying to figure each other. You're just going to go at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That got highly sexual for no reason, but you know what I mean? It's going to be right out of the gate a high-powered.
Yeah, and even if it was the season opener, I still think it would be that because the coaches are so much more confident in their quarterbacks now. They were really trying to make sure their first-time starting quarterback did not make a mistake last year. Yeah. And now they don't have to worry about that. They know what they have. They know what those guys can do. If they make a mistake, they'll be fine, don't worry about it, shake it off. Let's get back to it. So,
and there's another
it's going to be so much fun watching Steve Sarkisian and Ryan Day just open the playbooks.
And this is the one thing that I don't think that people appreciate enough. It's also going to be the biggest heavyweight fight receiver to receiver in the entire sport next year. Like if you actually like look at the Cam Coleman, Jeremiah Smith matchup, like I know we always do quarterback versus quarterback, but it's like, I think Cam Coleman is the closest thing to Jeremiah Smith in college football going into next year. And he's
and they came out of the same class and the results have been completely different for the two guys. And I wonder if you'd sent Cam Coleman, like if let's say Jeremiah Smith had picked Miami and Cam Coleman had said, you know what, I'm going to go play for Brian Hartline at Ohio State, and he'd spent 2 years with Brian Hartline. How would we view Cam Coleman now?
Entirely differently.
Well,
yeah. We would still view Jeremiah Smith the same because
right. He was going to be good no matter where he. Although, what if Jeremiah Smith had gone to Auburn?
I know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Having a dysfunctional offense does, play a factor on a receiver. But I will tell you this: both of these guys will be first-round picks next year. Obviously, that's not really much going on a limb. I think that you could maybe make the case that I'm certain that they'll both be top 10 picks. I'm
not certain Cam Coleman will. I'm certain Jeremiah Smith will.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Coleman, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. And now that he's in it, like, I think that like Texas's offense is going to be so much more functional than it was even a year ago. And part of the reason is his existence. Like, I think he is going to have a monster year. And we had a Heisman long shot debate. You know who would be way down on the list? Coleman. Like Jeremiah Smith, I think is 6th or 7th. Can you imagine like putting a Jeremiah Smith like freak on Texas when we're undervaluing what they might be offensively? If he has like a banner year and Texas goes to the playoff, if he's like 40-1 or 50-1 right now, I would smash that. He's going to have a great year. So
the thing is, if he has a really good year, you have to worry about Arch siphoning votes off of that. So
and he's going to get all my votes.
Well, you need Harsh to get those votes. I'm not going to
show any voter ID when I vote for the Heisman next year. Let me put it that way. If it gets me out of running 5 miles, man, I will do anything.
Well, the thing is, like, we know with Jeremiah Smith, there's always been talent around him in the receiving core as well. It's not just him. It was Carnell Tate the past couple of years. Brandon Inniss is still there at Ohio State now. They've got receivers that everybody coveted out of high school that are very capable, some of whom, like Carnell Tate, would have been a number one receiver at almost any other program. Texas has that kind of talent around Cam Coleman as well. And I think that's where, your confidence in Cam Coleman producing, I think my confidence in him producing is more because there's more around him too, because you can't just worry about Cam Coleman. You've got to worry about Ryan Wingo. You have to worry about Emmett Mosley. They like Khalil Lockett. So they've got guys that scare you beyond Cam Coleman. And that's the thing. If you're Matt Patricia, if you're Ohio State's defensive coordinator, you're trying to figure out how do I triage this? Who do I devote the most resources to?
And that has no bearing on improved offensive line and Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers on the team now. So they've got
right. And it also has no bearing on. Remember last year, you're dealing with Arvell Reese and you're dealing with Sonny Styles. And look, Ohio State obviously is extremely talented. They're going to have a bunch of future NFL players on their defense now. But that was a pretty old group of superstars they had who played a lot of football.
People mocked me last year when I said that Ohio State might have the 5 best players in college football after they lost. Like a lot of people on Twitter were like, this guy's an idiot. Remember when he said this, whatever that. Have you looked at mock drafts lately? I think they're going to have 4 of the top 5 players taken, and Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith won't be that. Or 4
right. Like Jeremiah Smith would be if he were in the draft this year. But yes, Arvell Reese, they're talking about like number 2 or number 3. Caleb Downs, they're talking about like safeties are not valued as much, but they're talking about Caleb Downs being a potential top 10 safety. And then Sonny Styles, his combine performance was the stuff of legends.
Yeah. So, and it's this Ohio State's going to be talented. They are not going to be as talented as they were last year. Like, period. Like, I think that's just a baseline, and that's not an insult. That's just like you can't do
the Texas defense also is revamping. Ant Hill's gone. Michael Taft's gone. Like they've lost some really good players too. They've also recruited very well, just like Ohio State. It's we don't know the guys that are taking those spots are not household names yet, but obviously Texas has guys who've already become household names like Colin Simmons.
Yep. You can't, you can't make this hype up any higher. Like this is,
you don't need to.
Yeah.
You just put those two helmets together. It's already good enough.
Yeah.
But the circumstances of this particular meeting make it even better.
Yeah. God, I love the sport. Okay. And now we get to the
numero uno, the juiciest game of 2026. And here's the thing. For the other games, we've said, hey, the circumstances of the season may change where this actually lands. We don't know if this is going to be this juicy. I can promise you, no matter what happens between now and then, no matter what happens before the game gets played, after the season starts, this will be the juiciest game. In terms of storylines, in terms of feelings, Lane Kiffin returning to Oxford, Mississippi as the coach of the LSU Tigers is going to be the juiciest game of 2026.
I've got a 4K camera here. Can you see the goosies? Can you see the goosebumps? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Andy, if there was like a poly market odds of which would be the number one game on our list before we aired the episode, I think it would have been like 99.9% this. Like, there's no question that this is college football at its finest, because you have two teams that are inherently going to be very good and very talented and should be in the at least conversation to make the college football playoff and maybe even advance in it. But when you layer on a coach returning to a place that he spurned before their playoff run a year ago, and then you add on to that, it's Lane Kiffin. Like, come on. Like, yeah. I don't even know. Like when you think about like a cocktail of interest, a cocktail.
It's a Molotov cocktail of interest. Yeah. Like, this is, think about this. He's the coach. He's leading them to the playoff for the first time in school history. And then in the middle of that decides, I'm going to the rival school because the rival school offers me a better long-term chance of success. And they're like, okay, cool. You can't coach in the playoff. Oh, by the way, we're going to promote the defensive coordinator and we're going to win playoff games without you, sucker.
And then you're coming back.
They go to the semis and look, one bounce different and Ole Miss is in the national title game last year.
The power of coincidence and the power of this sport always never ceases to amaze me, Andy. The fact that it is the SEC opener too on the road, like, you couldn't have written this better.
They made the schedule before all that stuff happened too. It wasn't. This is purely an accident.
Coincidental, yeah. It's a beautiful accident, and like, I think because of how many characters there are and how much movement there is now, like, you get to see a lot of like redemption stories and return arcs and villain arcs and all these things. Like, but this one seems to be a little bit, this is like picante spicy. Like, this is not just kind of spicy. This is.
Well, think about this, because Lane Kiffin wanted all of the good Ole Miss players to come with him. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wanted Trinidad Chambliss. He wanted Kejuan Lacey. They stayed at Ole Miss, but he got Prince Will Umanmielen. He got TJ Daugherty. It's like some of them left to go with him. So those guys are coming back too. Trinidad Chambliss, we didn't know if he'd be playing this season. He wins the injunction. He is playing this season. I don't know if we talked enough about Kejuan Lacey's decision, because I think that is incredibly crucial here. Kejuan Lacey's back for Ole Miss.
Andy, there's only one game in the history of my memory that I could say had more compelling off the field storylines than this one. And even then, it might not be as juicy. And that's the 2022 Ohio State Michigan game. Was it 22? The year that Harbaugh was suspended, or was it 23?
23.
It was the 2023 Ohio State Michigan game with Harbaugh suspended, the Spygate stuff happening, Ohio State's losing streak, and Ryan Day's placement in the rivalry, all that stuff. That was ultra compelling. But that had characters, because Harbaugh and Ryan Day were characters in it. Connor Stallions was a character. Like, again, that one was pure. That was Walter White college football meth right there. That was as pure as it could get. But like this here,
that was the blue.
yeah. This is also the blue. This might be Pinkman's blue, but it is high quality college football drugs. And like, I'm super excited. I feel like we have to be there. Like, I don't even know, like, this is one of the few games in in the off season where it's like, well, that'd be cool to go to Oregon, USC. It'd be cool to, get up to this game or that game. Like this game is like, it is March 2nd. And it's like, we will have to be there. Like there's no missing this.
No, there is no missing this. And the thing is, the week leading up to it is going to be bananas because Lane Kiffin is not going to suddenly go silent. He will tweet.
Yeah.
He will post things on Instagram. He will be asked questions and he will not be able to help himself when he answers.
Yeah.
Like the drama, because other coaches would try to tamp down the drama. It's not a big deal. It's just another game. We're just focused on them because they're on the schedule this week. Lane's not going to do that.
This is LeBron James going back to Cleveland with the Heat for the first time, but LeBron being a troll on top of it.
Exactly. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be, and think about it. This is week 3.
Because coaches usually want to downplay. They want to downplay the off the field story stuff typically.
Yeah.
Like, I think Lane Kiffin's going to want to promote it.
I don't know if he wants to or he can't help it, but it's going to happen either way.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I want to eat pizza for lunch. I'm going to have pizza for lunch. And it's not because I want it. Like, and it's going to happen. Like, it's like, that is my nature as a human being. So like, that's the nature that Lane Kiffin has as a human being. And he's going to do it. Like he might like the question I want to know is how are Ole Miss fans going to behave that day? Like, is it going to be like a security
They will boo
issue?
lustily? Will they throw things? It wouldn't be the first time a fan base that Lane Kiffin left behind had thrown things at him during the game.
Tennessee throws a lot of stuff, though. Tennessee throws stuff more often, I think, don't they?
Do they?
I don't know. Dave Ubben.
Name me another game where they threw stuff.
Remember Dave Ubben wrote a story, like, I don't remember what game it was, but they threw stuff like 6 years ago in one game.
It was Ole Miss. It was Lane Kiffin.
It was.
That's the game.
He's the only time we've ever thrown stuff at people.
Okay.
Only time.
Well,
Mustard
Dave
bottles,
Ubben
golf
wrote
balls,
it.
Producer River, Vol for Life.
Okay.
Mustard bottle, golf ball.
Yep.
But what I wanted to say is, and thank you for hopping in there and saving me from Vol Twitter. But Dave Ubben wrote a story about how inappropriate it was, I think, to throw things back for the Athletic back then. And to this day, anytime, any sporting event, anywhere on earth, fans throw things, Vol Twitter reminds David Ubben by tagging him in the stories. Like, it's like been 6 years. Like, and
we do that. I see it every time and I love it.
They never forget. And the Ole Miss fans, they ain't letting this go anytime soon.
Do you think this is guaranteed a night kickoff?
It doesn't matter.
ESPN does not put this in prime time. They are foolish.
Yeesh.
What is it about Lane Kiffin that makes you want to throw a hot dog at him? I don't know what it is. Didn't they throw golf balls?
They threw
A golf
anything
ball
that they
and a
had.
bottle of mustard.
A bottle of mustard. That's
Yeah. There was all kinds of stuff on that field that night. Beer, water, golf balls, mustard.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I know that like we can all get precious about how
River was at the game, by the way, in case you're wondering. You saw it firsthand.
Take cover.
I think that like you can get precious about if you throw a golf ball from the upper deck and it hits someone in the head. That's a very big danger. Like, that's a safety hazard. And I would never want anybody to get hurt. But I'm also here for the throw shit at people side of it, because I also think that like that makes the games compelling. Like,
but see, I think Lane Kiffin should totally embrace the heel turn. It's already happened. He's already gone. He's already pissed them off. You're not going to ever get them back. They're never going to love you again.
But
so
like
don't even try. Like, come out in a freaking Ric Flair robe and throw it off.
Could you imagine if he wore a Ric Flair robe and then he threw it off and he had his LSU like rowback hoodie on, and then on the back somebody like taped the target, like mocking people who throw stuff at him, like a little target practice thing.
I can see it.
Like,
I can see it.
He would do something like that, and I think it would be amazing. But I am all here 100% for throwing stuff on the field when you think there's a bad call. Like, go do it. Like, create a scene. like, what am I like supposed to be like the
SEC office? Please send the fines to Ari Wasserman.
Well, I'm just saying, like when Texas and Georgia played a few years ago and they made that weird call. I don't even recall what the call was. It was an interception.
It was a bad call, and they got them to change it, I think.
They changed it, and then Texas. Yeah. Well, I think Texas threw stuff. Then they changed.
They threw stuff on the field to delay the game, and then magically they're like, "We looked at it again," and then changed their minds.
Yes, right. Like I think that was compelling. Now I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I want college football to be a dysfunctional zoo.
What if he comes out in a beekeeper's outfit or some sort of padded outfit, like those outfits they used to train the canine units for the police force? Where they're all padded up and they just let the German Shepherds bite them. Like, what if he just comes out in that?
Yeah. We'll have to have a whole offseason discussion point of what should Lane Kiffin wear to the game. Because I think if we do it, I truly believe that if we discussed this once a week and we had people write things in that were funny for him to wear and we made it a bit, we could influence his attire. Because
I think so too. Because I think it would gain momentum. And people all the shows that listen to us first before they come up with their topics, that would also get rolling.
Lane Kiffin
on the hill
regularly retweets people in things that don't tag him. He finds I think
he's searching his name.
He searches his name. Yeah. Anyway, Ole Miss,
I think the canine training outfit is a good start. That's a good way to say. So if you've got a better idea for what Lane Kiffin needs to wear into Vaught Hemingway Stadium, send it our way. You know where to find us. You know how to find us on social media. You know the email address is andystaples3@gmail.com, ari.wasserman@on3.com. What does Lane need to wear to make sure whatever comes out of the stands doesn't harm him?
And here's the thing that I want to leave people with. Now, don't do anything stupid or break the law or hurt anybody, obviously. But I think Ole Miss should do everything in their power as a fan base and even as an institution to make sure that he feels hated that day.
Oh, they will. Okay. I have no doubt they will.
From the second he gets into town till the second he leaves, I think
there will be no grace. Yeah. Now, a lot of teams do not stay in Oxford.
Yeah.
Although they have a lot of nicer hotels in Oxford over the last few years. They've done a good job building some stuff.
Definitely way more nice hotels than Mississippi State. Yeah.
Oh, stop it.
That's right, Brandon.
Stop it.
It was just a Brandon Walker jab because he got
Ari Wasserman, white ass.
Do you remember? Do you remember last year when Kenny Dillingham said what he said about Mississippi State?
I remember that.
Yeah, listen, he got all mad about it.
That new Marriott Courtyard, newish Marriott Courtyard in Starkville is fantastic. But the point of this is they're probably not staying in Oxford, LSU. They may be staying Tupelo. They may be staying, just south of Memphis. There's probably good. Don't stay in Oxford. The fire alarms would be going off all night.
Yeah, fire alarms. Spray
people just be driving past your hotel honking.
Yeah,
it would be a bad idea.
Yeah, stolen gear,
playbooks.
Yeah,
play sheets. Listen, this is not going. There will be no grace. There will be no class. Nor should there be. He left you in the middle of a playoff run. You be as mad as you want. You show it as much as you can. Meanwhile, he's going to try to prove to you that he left for a reason. And LSU is going to try to prove that this is the better job. That's why he's here. That's what makes this game so juicy. It is perfect. This is exactly what you want. You would never, ever get this in the NFL. And I'm not an NFL hater. Great product. But you'll never get anything like this. This is 100% pure sulfuric acid.
Yeah. And it's blue.
It's so good. This is so good. I cannot wait. This is just knowing this is coming is going to get me through the next few months.
Likewise.
I hope everybody's ready for some college football. We still got a ways to go. We got spring practice and everything else.
This is March.
But yeah. we got awesome things. Look, we got March Madness. We got the Masters. We got the 4th of July. Lots of fun things still coming up. But nothing's as fun as college football season. And now you got your roadmap. You got your games to circle. And we'll have this. We'll have one of these every few weeks where we give you something else to circle. Another reason to get pumped. But that game, LSU at Ole Miss, it's going to feed families. It's going to be amazing. And we will talk to you tomorrow.